Hello, my name is Eric Schmidt, and today I'll be looking at the reporting behind the claims that members of Antifa were in fact responsible for the Capitol riots on January 6th, 2021. I also made a video on the media's claim that Officer Sicknick was murdered with a fire extinguisher, which you can find up here. This video is going to be a little different as the situation, claims, evidence, etc. are all very much more nebulous in nature than the Sicknick story. After the January 6th attacks on the Capitol, the left-leaning media was placing the blame squarely on Trump and Trump supporters, including members of QAnon, the Oath Keepers, and the Proud Boys. However, some right-leaning media outlets began reporting that although the protesters were Trump supporters, it was a planned Antifa attack that caused the ingress into the Capitol building itself. Many different claims were made by a variety of media outlets, politicians, and others, which we'll be looking at. Before we really dig in, a question we should always be asking ourselves when presented with any claim is, do I believe the claim because I want it to be true, or because there is actual hard evidence that demands I believe it? There are a few important claims made, I believe, that ended up causing many people to reach a certain conclusion. These claims, in no particular order, and their spin-offs, are the focus of this video. The first claim is Paul Sperry's tweet that a former FBI agent on the ground at U.S. Capitol just texted me and confirmed that at least one busload of Antifa thugs infiltrated peaceful Trump demonstrators as part of a false Trump flag ops. Is there any corroborating evidence of this? If your initial response to this claim is that it must be true, ask yourself why. How do you know it's true? What evidence is there? Are there any photographs or video, or are we supposed to simply believe that not only did Paul Sperry actually receive this text, but the sender had all his or her information correct? If the bus actually existed, how big was it? How many people were actually on it? Could those on it have been from the Proud Boys or Oath Keepers, but were mistaken for Antifa? We really have no idea. Right-leaning media, for the 4 years of Trump's presidency, pushed back against the left-leaning outlets when they published stories based entirely on an anonymous source. Why is this claim from an anonymous source now completely believable and unquestioned by so many? Perhaps some people simply want it to be true. The second claim comes from an article from the Washington Times titled, "Facial Recognition Firm Claims Antifa Infiltrated Trump Protesters Who Stormed Capitol." This article, in its original form, only existed online for about 5 hours before it was updated to remove the Antifa claim, but that was plenty of time for the story to take on a life of its own and spread far and wide. The updated article is titled, "Corrected. Facial recognition identifies extremists storming the Capitol." In it we see, correction. An earlier version of this story incorrectly stated that XR Vision face recognition software identified Antifa members among rioters who stormed the Capitol Wednesday. XR Vision did not identify any Antifa members. The Washington Times apologizes to XR Vision for the error. Where did the Washington Times get the original information? According to their original article, the claim came from a retired military officer. Yet another anonymous claim certainly appears to be false. In an article from The Hill titled "Washington Times Removes Article Claiming Facial Recognition Company Identified Some Capitol Rioters as Antifa," they write, "Prior to the article being taken down, XR Vision told The Hill in a statement that the analysis actually identified 2 members of neo-Nazi organizations and an actor with QAnon promotion history. No identification associated with Antifa was made with any of them." U.S. House member Matt Gaetz even cited the first iteration of this article during a speech he gave on the House floor, further cementing the Antifa narrative in some people's minds.
Some pretty compelling evidence from a facial recognition company showing that some of the people who breached the Capitol today were not Trump supporters. They were masquerading as Trump supporters and, in fact, were members of the violent terrorist group Antifa.
Now, I'm certainly not going to sit here and say that there were absolutely no Antifa members present at the riot, but there is a big difference between Antifa simply being present at the riot and Antifa successfully planning and executing the attack on the Capitol. The third claim is that the following video is some form of proof of Antifa's involvement.
You were right, we did it.
Dude, I was trying to tell you. I couldn't say much.
You were right.
You just have to watch my chat.
Oh my God.
Is this not going to be the best film you've ever made in your life?
That's it.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah?
Hell yeah.
Wait, you weren't recording, were you?
I'll delete that. But I didn't record you or me. It was just voices.
First, according to CNN, Jade Sacker doesn't work for them. Second, John Sullivan, although involved in left-wing activism and founded the activist group Insurgents USA, isn't, according to Fox News, affiliated with Antifa. Perhaps he egged on some people at the riot, but there's absolutely no evidence that he really led anything. The video isn't evidence of anything other than his presence, and maybe that he likes chaos. The exclamations of, "We did it," are also not evidence of them causing the riot. Perhaps they were excited that they made it in and that an assault was indeed in progress. We don't know. If the truth is important to us, we can't use this as evidence of Antifa organizing the assault, especially since he doesn't appear to be a member of Antifa to begin with. The fourth claim comes from eyewitness accounts that the main instigators acted differently or dressed differently than the main group of peaceful protesters, including wearing hoodies and or dark clothes, and were therefore Antifa, or at the very least not Trump supporters. Just because some people didn't act or dress the same as the majority of the protesters doesn't mean they belong to an infiltration group. That truly is witch hunting thinking. They could have just as easily been Oath Keepers who, according to their own website About page, are a nonpartisan association of current and formerly serving military, police, and first responders. I'm certainly not making the claim that all or even some of those who stood out were Oath Keepers, but without real evidence, we can't simply jump to the conclusion that they must have been Antifa. Trump supporters certainly don't all look, act, and think the same. There are a lot of people from different cultures and backgrounds that support Trump. On March 2nd, Fox News reported on a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing where the FBI director testified. The article was titled, "Capitol Riot Hearing. FBI Director Wray says no evidence Antifa fake Trump supporters involved." In it they write, FBI Director Chris Wray testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee Tuesday that the Bureau, to date, has not found any evidence showing Antifa members or fake Trump supporters participated in the Capitol riot. Clarifying that the FBI does not evaluate perpetrators based on a left or right political spectrum, Wray testified that it's clear a large and growing number of those arrested so far in connection to January 6th could be categorized as militia, violent extremists, or racially motivated extremists, naming both the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys groups. In response to a question from Senator Patrick Leahy, Democrat from Vermont, Wray clarified that FBI's ongoing investigations have not found Antifa involvement. So what should we believe? We know for a fact that at least most of the people inside the Capitol were indeed Trump supporters. The QAnon shaman and Richard Barnett, the guy in the photo with his feet up on Pelosi's desk, are just two examples of people who are known, whose social media pages showed their history as Trump supporters. The FBI has stated that members of the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys have been arrested for their part in the riot. Does that mean no Antifa members were present? Again, no. At least a couple certainly or probably were. However, the issue is whether or not they had the numbers and organization required to cause such a riot when even the FBI says there's no evidence of it. The question we ultimately all have to answer is there enough evidence to indicate Antifa was behind the riots? Well, there is no evidence beyond some Antifa members possibly being present, which really is not evidence at all. In the 1691 book, The Certainty of the World of Spirits, Richard Baxter writes, "It is a most common report, and many whose credit is not to be doubted of, say and confirm that by their own or other such they have heard it, that Silvani and Fani have been not with women, and that many devils, which the French call douci, do daily attempt this uncleanness, and effect it, is reported by so many that 'tis impudence to deny it. Just because a claim is repeated over and over again inside an echo chamber does not make it true. And just because many or even all in the echo chamber believe a claim also does not make it true. We humans have a propensity to believe that which is repeated often, a trait that marketing companies, media outlets, and politicians take full advantage of for their own gain. It is because of this innate human trait that we should be even more careful to not simply accept claims because either it is repeated multiple times or because we want it to be true. Accepting something as truth because we want it to be true leaves us open to deception. Something, again, the media, and in this particular case, the right-wing media and politicians are taking full advantage of to their financial benefit and the rest of the country's detriment. If we are to repair the division in this country, it is on each of us to understand why we hold the views we do and how the media on both sides capitalizes on our willingness to believe the worst in those with whom we disagree and the best in those with whom we agree. We must hold our own beliefs to the same standards of evidence that we hold the beliefs of others. As always, if you take issue with anything in this video, please let me know what I got wrong in the comments, but please provide evidence, not simple assertions. Again, my name is Eric Schmidt, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Goodbye.